Welcome to Bible Time. We're going to be looking at one of the Bible's most amazing predictions, which to me demonstrates beyond doubt that God understands the future and holds the map for this world's history in his hands. And we've got Ben and Marie helping us this morning. Thank you so much, guys. We had a bit of sickness, so you came in at the last minute, didn't you, Marie?
Yep.
So what happened in Daniel chapter 7? Tell us the story.
Well, about 2,600 years ago, the soldiers of Babylon in current-day Iraq came and went all the way to Jerusalem, took people captive, ransacked the city, and then Daniel went back to Babylon, and he was a captive, but he rose to become the Prime Minister and one of the wealthiest and most influential men of the ancient world.
Oh.
And God gave him a dream. He showed him the future of the world, from Babylon to Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and just how even the demise of the medieval church and to bring about democracy today.
It's pretty amazing when you stop to think about it. It's an extravagant claim, but this very chapter of Bible prophecy we're looking at split the beliefs of the medieval ages and is the reason we have so many different Christian denominations today. Now, Ben, what was in this dream?
Well, let's just read it. And I'll take part of it straight out of the Bible. So we'll go, it's Daniel chapter 7, and he says, I was given this dream, a vision. And in verse 2 it says, Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. And then he goes through these 4 incredible beasts that he sees, and they each represent a nation. And he says, first of all, I saw 4 great beasts coming out, each different from the other. Verse 4, the first was like a lion, and it had eagle's wings. And then verse 5, another beast, the second like a bear, raised up on one side. And verse 6, after this, there was another like a leopard. And then verse 7, the 4th beast is different. He says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring and breaking in pieces and trampling with its feet. It was different from all the other beasts, and it had 10 horns. And verse 8 says, I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, and it came up among them, and it plucked out 3 other horns. And there in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth that spoke boastful words.
Okay, so it looks like this horn had a pretty important role to play, but was at the end.
Well, it doesn't finish there. That's the good news.
Okay.
And verses 9 and 11, I'll just read from there. It tells us that even though this sort of beast that sounds like a very negative influence is there, God wipes it out eventually and then brings in his peace. So verse 9 talks about that judgment. I watched till the thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated, that's God. His garment was white as snow, and his hair of his head was like pure wool. And he sat on his throne. And verse 11, I watched then the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking, and I watched till the beast was slain and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. And so that beast with the horn that caused trouble seems to get done away with, which is, I guess, a good end.
Okay. Now, many people through history have wondered about what does this vision of Daniel chapter 7 actually mean. Christian fathers, the early church, they've struggled, they've wrestled. Did you know that in the time of Jesus Christ, the Jewish people reading this were wondering whether the 4th beast was the deadly Roman Empire? Think about it. Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome. Rome rules, and then it divides into 10 nations, or the 10 horns if you wish. And from the ashes of the Roman Empire would arise a brand new power. That's so, isn't it, Marie?
It is.
Yeah.
And Daniel actually wondered what it all meant himself.
Yeah.
And I'll read verses 16 and 17. And it says here, I came near to one of those who stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. Those great beasts which are 4 kings which arise out of the earth.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was another kingdom, pagan Rome,
Okay.
and then, like you say, that divided, and up came
The Christian
the
power
Christian power,
of the medieval ages.
the medieval ages.
Okay,
Yeah.
it ruled the state.
Yes.
It was a tyrannical power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not attacking another denomination
No.
because there was only one denomination.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the history of the Christian church is not a pretty picture to describe, but here's the important point for me, and this is what absolutely stunned me, Ben. I've spoken with so many young university students about this topic. Where does the year 1798 come in? The prophecy predicted that it would be for a period of 1260 that this superpower would exercise dominion, as it were, over the planet. For a period of 1260. Now, when did the Christian superpower, headquartered in Rome, first begin to wield its influence? Well, 533 AD, Justinian is a Roman emperor.
Yes.
And the Roman Emperor Justinian says to the Christian church headquartered in Rome, you can now rule all of Europe. I want you to think about this. Imagine if the President Obama was to give the Southern Baptists of the United States full power over all the military and political activity of the entire United States and indeed the world. That's pretty big, wouldn't you reckon?
I think that'd be a huge uprising.
And that's what Justinian did, the ancient Roman emperor. He gave the Christian church the entire old empire, both politically, militarily, as well as spiritually. When was that power stripped away? 1,260 years later, we arrive at the time of the French Revolution, and to the very year the French Parliament says, it says there is no God, and just 5 years later, in 1798, what happens at the conclusion of this time is that the power of the church over the state is removed from it. Now, we've run out of time and out of talk today, but this to me, just hitting the crunch point, is amazing evidence that God knows the future.
Yeah, that alone is enough reason for some people to believe in God. The time prophecy fits perfectly.
Now, God claims to know the future.
The great news about that is we can feel safe and secure because our God is in charge and He loves us and He knows the future.
Yeah, He does.
So that's a great place to be. When we've got a question or a dilemma in life, we're not on our own. We can ask God for help.
Now, the claim of the Holy Bible is absolutely amazing, that there is a God who is so far above nature that He holds, as it were, the times of this world in His hand. And that God, that powerful God, is able to be reached by you if you would pray to Him. Because remember, God is always love.